Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. on the, what is it, the 10th of June? All right, thank you all for being here. We are going to have a change to the agenda. We're going to remove item number 2, Police Department reorganization. We're going to focus strictly on the utility rate review recommendation for the sanitation rates this evening. First of all, I see Dolly in the audience here as a member of the Utility Rate Review Committee. I want to thank you very much for your work on this. I know it's time-consuming at times, and it's tough to make these decisions that we have to, because you're going to be partaking in the rate decision, whatever you make too, with that. So thank you and your group for your hard work in putting this together. To review what we've was recommended by the utility rate review for the residential sanitation rates, and this involves the numbers for picking up the garbage on a weekly basis at the curb site, as well as a recommendation for the commercial site. The current rate is $14, and the committee recommended that we raise the rate to $17 per residential unit commencing July 1st, 2014. At the same time, the committee recommended that we raise the rate from $5.50 to $6 per cubic yard, I believe that is.
It is
for the commercial rates, and that too is to be effective on July 1st. We as a committee have reviewed this individually, and we've thought that we should bring this to a little more open forum here so we can discuss it. Make sure that all the numbers that helped go into putting the recommendations together were fully reviewed, and give Nino an opportunity to present some facts, because there is some discussion as to what exactly that rate should be. So with that, I'd like to open it first to Mark or John, whoever would like to start their comments first, and then we'll go out into the audience. To Mark?
I mean, there's a couple factors here when we're considering this rate increase, and the future of the CPF is one of them, because that could affect what our tip fees are and things like that. And, if you could real quick give us an update on where we're at on the CPF and what you think that maybe the future outlook of that.
CPF is looking at their contract, they're tightening up their specs, guidelines, possibly going out to bid. There's different avenues they're pursuing. Going out for a bid for a private entity to operate, which currently does and has been doing so for 20 years. The other option is to accept a bid proposal from government, being through cities or the county themselves. So I've talked to the service directors of the other cities, being Brunswick and Wadsworth, and we've met a couple times. We are hoping to put together a bid, a proposal, if you will, in August for September bid letting to operate the CPF, either jointly the 3 cities that are referenced with the county, or the 3 cities by ourselves. Our tip fees are $1.6 million a year, and it's gone up over the years. We've not seen any relief, and that's something that we've all discussed. We've had multiple discussions. The recycling rates are not what many of us think they should be. It can be improved, it can be more efficient. Without belaboring it, I don't know, it's ultimately the commissioner's decision, and not sure if that's, I don't want to speak for them, but I've had multiple discussions with different people, and I'm not sure where that's going to go, is the honest answer at this point. But we are pursuing a formal proposal, if you will, for that bid.
When did you say the decision would be made? Fall?
August is when the bid letting is. The bids will be opened by the county in September.
Okay.
And how much currently do you know does the county take in for ownership, or how do I say it, allowing the current operator to operate there? They get a percentage of the tip fees that go directly to them.
Out of the $61.91, they receive $18 per ton. I didn't break the percentage out.
And we don't know what they use that for.
No, we're actually waiting on some numbers. The 3 of us, the 3 service directors, when I say the 3 of us, are waiting for some numbers, a cost analysis, if you will. It's difficult to present a bid and to be viable in the game player in this whole event without numbers to work from. So we're awaiting those numbers from the county administrator.
my own contention's always been that the cities are the three largest users of the CPF.
We are.
We probably provide 60%, maybe 70% or more of the garbage.
Not
as
quite
it
that
is.
much. Out
How
of
much do we-
125,000 tons, we're between 25 and 30,000 tons. Wadsworth is 14,000. You mean between three?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
So
More than
by
two-thirds.
that, we're the ones that are affected the most by the
Absolutely.
operations that occur there.
We're 2/3 of the depositors. I apologize. I thought you meant City Medina
No, no,
specifically.
all
You're
three
right.
of them. And
You
so
are.
it seems to me that in order to control our own destiny, we should control the CPF. Because we have no control over the tip fees. We have no ability of what the recycling level should be or could be or what we want it to be. So I think the answer to the question would be, and I know the county, through previous open meetings, has indicated that they do not want the cities to take it over.
Or they don't want to operate it as the county themselves. They don't want to be in the garbage business supposedly, so.
And it has been made clear that they do not want to joint venture or do a consortium with the cities. They'd rather do it on their own or do a private operator.
My opinion on that, all due respect, I haven't been happy with the outcome of the CPF with the county looking over it, so, and if they don't want it, I mean, I know we're talking about rates, but as to the future of our sanitation rates, I'd like the idea of the cities getting together and possibly.
Well, I think this is an important part of the rates
Oh,
because
right, well, that's.
if this is changed, it'll have a direct impact on the cost of operations of the sanitation department.
Because it would definitely potentially drop the tipped fees down to a rate that's a little more realistic.
Well, right now you have a private individual
For-profit.
for-profit plus the county taking $18. So you take those into consideration, you can easily get to, 25, maybe $30. About half of the cost goes to the county and the profits.
And understand, the county owns the building. That's
Okay,
where
and that
we're
would
at,
be-
so I mean, that's,
Understood. And I guess the whole thing is, as I understand it, the state legislature says that we are one of the counties that do this central processing facility. It's not necessary, I guess, that we use that facility, but, and I'm not sure how the county's involved in bidding it out, but it's their facility.
Mhm.
and then there's the discussion, if I may interject, with the solid waste district and the flow control, that there's an obligation, and then there was discussion whether, when their deputy retirement, when it came off, end of the year, at the end of this year, are we responsible and obligated to continue to take the trash and dispose of it there? And the answer is we are. The 3 law directors are looking at it, 2 of which from the other cities have said, yeah, we're obligated at least until 2022.
I think we're obligated to take it to a central processing facility. Is it that location? That may not be the necessary location.
I mean, I hate to see taxpayer money that built that place.
Well, I agree, but I mean, if we're prohibited from using it,
Well, I think that's a dialogue.
Why would we be prohibited from using it?
because the county owns it.
So that's
Oh,
the
okay, if we
discussion
break
with the
away from that,
CPF.
Okay.
There's a lot of unknowns, unfortunately, and we're working on it.
How did we come up with the proposal of the 17 and the 50 cents additional for commercial?
With respect to residential, they did a great job, by the way, the field guys, John Leneker and the residential crews that we have. And you understand that every day that residential crews pick up, there's an A, B, and C, there's 3 routes that go out. I think we don't need to rehash that. So there's a driver and 2 laborers specific for each truck. So there's 3 backloaders that go out with 1 shuttle truck on a given day. So what they did is they took June 1st, July 6th, December 28th, and January 4th of 2014, and I believe that was it, those dates. There's 1,622 stops. We took the labor costs of the MEOs and the laborers, went through the incidentals, the personals, the hospitalization, the retirement, the medical, just like the Medicare, the workers' comp, just like we do the budget preparation. Took that with the truck input cost per hour. Fuel was counted for, it's $12.42 per hour. The repair costs are added in, the cost of the ownership of the vehicle, which goes towards the replacement of a truck, even with the insurance and taxes. Taking those totals and then dividing that total number by the number of stops, and we're at $4.09. Now, they ran it on several other days. The days, same route, different times, and it was $4.08, $4.06, $4.11, so it was right in that proximity. I do appreciate Rich being here. He was helping me today because John, in his number crunching, had left out a couple important factors, so we redid the spreadsheet, and so to be honest with you, when we reran those numbers, it didn't go up by much, it was $4.30. So what we presented to the utility rate review when they met last with respect to sanitation, Councilman Rose had asked, what is the cost of getting the garbage from the curb to the CPF? So that answer at that point was $4.09 per pickup per week. We said, okay, you multiply that by 4 times, that would be $16.36. And then Keith chimed in and said, well, actually it's 4.3 weeks. You know, he is being the number cruncher, and he's right. So that number came to like $17.70. So that's how the $17 evolved.
And what about for the commercial?
Commercial, same thing. Took the front loader routes, which go out 2 a day. Took the MEOs, because it's just an MEO. A front loader route is 1 person, 1-man truck, no laborers. Same thing. Truck, fuel, cost per hour, hospitalization, medical, all the incidentals. Took that, divided by, and added all those costs up. And then the pickups, the tonnage, divided out the amount of stops and the amount of waste that was picked up and disposed of. And that averaged, and they did the month of May of this year, and that averaged about $350 net per day was the average. Some days, I shared with Councilman Rose earlier, was $63, some days were $800. It bounced all over, but the average when you add them and divide is about $300 to $350 for the commercial side.
Okay.
That's a snapshot
Right, right.
of May. Not sure if garbage was up.
Right.
You know, that's the one snap, 1 month pickup, including Saturdays, because those front loader routes go out on overtime for the restaurants on the weekend.
Now, I know what my trash bill is, so we're obviously losing money on the residential side. How does that work out on the commercial side?
From May, from the snapshot,
Right. So we're
it's a little bit to the plus.
just
But not
based
enough
on
to
1
com-
month.
Yes,
But not enough to compensate what we're losing.
no,
On the
we're looking
residential.
10,000 per month, sorry.
And that doesn't include money for truck replacement?
Truck ownership, it's difficult to, I'm gonna say it goes toward it, yes. But that doesn't include administrative, that's not supervisory, that was just raw data from the field. That's not supervisory, it's not anything past the actual union eligible in the truck and the fuel and the pickup.
So supervisor will go to both, so we don't know the numbers in either yet.
Correct. We did not include in these, what was presented to you, the supervisor administrative portion.
Why not?
They just did the field cost. Kind of goes back to like the utility building, was that?
The truest cost.
Yes.
Is what we were asked.
Well, the
what's
truest cost
of
is
getting-
And it should
the
have
cost to
been-
run the whole department divided among residential and commercial. Your salary should be, portion of it included. You have cash control that we always want to have. That goes in a portion of it, so the
Right.
true cost would be
And
the
those
cost
are not in there,
of
so it'll be
all.
higher. I mean, that's,
So commercial would be more to the plus side, and residential would be more than the negative side.
no, you had the administrative side, they're both
Yeah,
gonna,
they're
They'll
both going to
both go
drop.
down.
Yes,
Yeah, they'll both go
yes,
down.
that was
There'll
my
be
point in
less
saying.
to the positive on commercial and
Right.
more to the negative.
More than the negative.
Right.
Right.
and I applaud
Okay.
John, I'm not gonna take anything away from John. He did it in the month of May, and actually, Rich and I just went through the data, and I can get that for you if you'd like. We can add that in, I think, pretty promptly, but it is not added in as we speak today.
All right, we've looked through the numbers, and thank you, Rich, for providing the cash flow, or the estimated cash flow for the year. It's looking right now, if all the numbers hold here, and we know by history, the numbers tend to be a little on the conservative side and show that we budget a little bit more to spend than we normally do. But it's looking like that by the end of this year, we're going to have roughly $50,000 left in the fund, which is not enough to really keep us going. So with that, we definitely do have to increase our cash flow, especially if we want to replace at least 1 garbage truck, possibly 2. I realize that
Yeah,
these,
that's not true though, but yeah.
pardon?
We're gonna have more than 50,000 left in the
But that's, I was just gonna say, I realize that this number here includes 2 trucks, but realistically, maybe we'll get just 1 in this year. So that number there, we realize that, will be a little bit, the ending amount will be a little bit higher than the 50,000.
Because historically, we've been pretty close, 3,080,000 to 3.1, 3 million, 3 million to 3 point, so we're about 75 to 100,000 between revenue expenditure and a negative every year. Except for an odd year like 2009, where we had 217,000 as a good, which was a good year. And the same thing with 2010. So we're pretty even right now. So I would assume going forward, except for the truck purchases, we'd stay pretty even. It'll be pretty close.
That's what I'm thinking too. But I'd like Dolly to have an opportunity to chime in here, if she could, as a member of the utility committee.
I honestly really don't have anything to say.
Oh, well, okay.
I know that's shocking, but.
I'm gonna write that down. Dolly had nothing to say. Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, one thing I will add, though, I do think that, I would think that the residents and commercial would agree that we like that we have the pickup process that we have the individuals that come and pick them up at curbside. We don't have to buy special, I don't know, cans.
Containers.
Containers.
I got you.
And they do a good job, so.
Okay, thank you.
So what's proposed in front of us, how much will this generate up with the finance? How much will these increases generate annually, roughly?
Annually?
Well, I guess, I mean, we have it here starting July 1st, but,
Yeah, it breaks down about the $3 increase.
yeah, $3. and
It's about $21,000 a month. So factor in whenever the rate increase would come into effect.
Does that include the 50-cent increase in commercial too, or?
Yeah, according to my conversation with Keith, that's just residential.
That's residential.
That's just residential.
Yeah, because it was hard to calculate, I think,
It is on the commercial
on the
side.
commercial side.
Okay.
Keith gave me a little different numbers, but okay. It's 278,000 a year,
But-
For,
residential, $3.
Right. But, yeah, if you wanted to
right.
factor in how much we're gonna get this year.
Well, no, he's just asking for a year.
For a year?
Yeah.
Well, I first asked for a year, but then he broke it down to a month, and that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
Okay.
And did you get commercial, did you give him commercial for a year?
I didn't have a solid number on that.
148,500. That's what Keith gave me,
Okay.
for a year. Now, partial years, you gotta figure it out. That's 50-cent increase.
John, what was your number on residential? That
Tot-
Keith provided you? 252?
278.
Okay, so that's 426?
426, 228.
Okay, per year. Cash increase, that would cover the deficit, projected deficit, as well as provide enough cash flow for a couple of trucks.
225,000 for a truck?
The intent, we have a request that I didn't even give to the mayor yet for this year. I'm not sure where we're going, but we're buying one truck this year if council approves, so that'll be by December.
Mhm.
And then every year ensuing, we have projected that we will buy a truck, one truck. So the answer is 220.
Is that what the budget is? Is there 2 trucks saved up or a truck and a half so far saved up?
There's 352,000 in the
Saved up.
vehicles, yes.
So it's a
A
truck and
truck is
3/4 truck.
220, so,
Truck and a half.
yes.
Okay.
But we're, for this year, for 2014, we're looking at one truck.
Okay. And you've got requested 200,000 a year going out for the next 5 years roughly for
Correct.
another truck. Okay. Mayor, I wanted to give you an opportunity to,
Well, I think these enterprise funds are supposed to be self-sufficient. It looks like we've been supplementing it for a period of time, and now that we know these true numbers, I think the reasonable thing to do is to have the charges as close in relation to the true costs as we can. That's what was discussed in the utility rate review. That's my recommendation and the administration's recommendation to council. Now, commercial is another side of it. If we're making money on the commercial, I don't think out of fairness to businesses that they should be supporting or supplementing the residents any more than the city should be. So, if the committee is okay with leaving the commercial as is and raising the residential, because of the way the numbers have come out, that there's a surplus already in the commercial. We did not have that data when we talked to utility rate review.
Correct.
So, I don't necessarily see a need to raise it for the businesses, if we're already breaking even or doing better than even, so.
Okay. Brian, do you have any comments?
My only concern is that when you look at the cost, I was at that meeting where Keith had said it broke down to $4.09, but we've since learned it's closer to $4.30.
Depending on who's here.
Well, the other reason I bring it up is it doesn't sound like a whole lot.
It's
till you-
not.
Till you carry it out over the whole year, and you're talking, you know, that night at that meeting, we discussed it was $17.72 if you figure it out for the whole year. Well, if you figure out if you use the new number of $4.30, it actually brings it up to $18.63 a month. You're talking 90 cents difference. So I guess my concern is $17 going to be enough?
I'm gonna say that. I think it
Well,
is.
you gotta look at history,
Yes.
and history shows since 2013 prior, that 4 of the 7 years, expenditures were less than revenues. Revenues exceeded expenditures, and then when expenditures did exceed revenues, it was about 75 to 100,000, 110,000 difference. So I would assume the costs have been the same for years prior to this. So what the answers your question is, commercial has been subsidizing the residential all this
Right.
time. I mean, so if you go to $18 or whatever it is, you're gonna, based upon these numbers, you'll have you have a lot extra cash because of just the history. Now, that's not even taken into consideration, which we all hope, which we don't know. If the CPF changes, there'll be additional money that may come in.
We're hopeful of that.
We're hopeful of that. Now, that doesn't say it might have, who knows what would happen, but we're hopeful that it could go down from what's going on now. So, I mean, I don't know, I guess the other question, I mean, to balance them out is very difficult, because I think commercial always subsidizes residential. I mean, they pay for the streets. I mean, I don't know what the division is in the city, it's not 50-50, I think it's 60-40. Do you know, Rich, what the commercial to residents income tax allocation would be? Because I think
Off the top of my head, I don't.
I think they do a little bit more than residential, so they're already subsidizing functions of the city for the residents already, I would imagine. That street,
They're being
everything.
serviced too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're paying more than their fair share.
How did you get from there to there?
Because if they pay 60% of the cost of the income tax is 60% theirs, let's say, and the residents are paying 40, the cost to put a road in, they're paying for 60% of that road to be put in, while the residents are only paying 40.
They have more weight on the road though, too.
Not in the residential roads. So
Okay,
technically,
let's-
they should pay 0 for the residential roads.
Let's keep this focused towards, let's keep this on track, okay? Because we could go on all night, okay? And I don't want
Well,
that.
I mean, there is a subsidy, and it's still gonna happen. I don't think you ever get it equal, that's my point. I don't
Well, I
think you
guess
ever
the
get
question
it equal.
becomes, what do you feel is fair, and how much should be subsidized by businesses?
Well, in this county, yes, but then you gotta look at everything. Now, see, you find that they subsidize everything, to a certain extent. And that's our goal, that's why we have economic development. We want more businesses, so they subsidize us more.
And that's been history throughout the United
Right.
States.
That's what we
Business
want,
has done
right.
that since the beginning, so, that's nothing unusual here.
But that's different than an enterprise fund. You know, an enterprise fund, they pay for the water they use, they pay for the
Mhm.
trash they use,
Charge
things like that. I see
sustain.
that totally different than the income tax. I think those are two different arguments. Here, it's supposed to be self-supporting.
Sustain the charges.
That's exactly. Thank you for your input, Brian. Appreciate it. Those are the numbers that I came up with, and I agree with you that we have to look at that to see if that is enough.
18.
If 17 might be too low, even 18 might be too low. But
So the question is, you raise it 4 there, do you have to freeze it or go down on commercial? That's the question. I don't know the answer to that question.
I think answer there is something that we should discuss with Nino. My own personal opinion is with the way things are going right now, with the competition is out there, that's
Yes.
another thing, commercial, they're competing with the other providers of hauling
Correct, that's why I
services.
appreciate the mayor's comments on the
And,
commercial.
And how
We
we
have
do
to, we have to look at that so we can remain competitive, so we don't lose this base.
Are we, what's the rates on it? Are we competitive now?
We always talk about the competitor coming in with, and we use the cliche that they walk around with our ordinance in their back pocket, because our rates are locked in by ordinance, so everyone knows that. Come in the city, they know, and so you look, and John did a quick synopsis here. We have about 25 accounts that potentially could be pirated, if you will, if the rates were to go to $6 per cubic yard, and a competitor would say, I can come in and bring my 8-yarder in. The 8-yarders with organic waste are compelled to go with the city. We have that, I don't want to say locked, but that's just mandated. So with that being said, there's 25 accounts that possibly could go, which accumulates to 480 cubic yards that potentially could not be picked up by the city, which translates to $2,640 of lost revenue per week.
What do they normally charge outside the city, like a normal pickup? We charge $5.50 a ton, what is normal? What's normal?
We have the roll-offs. We don't have a lot of 8-yarders that go outside the city with the front loaders. Most of our potential business outside the city are the roll-off containers, which are by the cubic yard, and we go $5.50, but it's per pickup. Now, they being the competitor, doubles our rental. We're $125, they're $250. We're $125, $150 per pool, they're $200, $2.25.
Except in the city.
Correct. Inside the city, they're under.
Knock their prices down to be
competitive.
competitive.
And that's what goes on. That's just the nature of the business in the garbage industry.
So maybe we should do more outside the city.
Well, you try to pick it up a little bit. Thankfully, we were able to go to the 4 adjoining
Part of the
townships,
business.
but anyway, stay on task.
But, so, I think we have to look at that seriously to see if it, if we do really want to increase our commercial rates at all. So we don't lose that, because, we raise it 50 cents, we may lose 2,600.
I would propose that maybe we evaluate, now that we know the decent numbers, that we continue to evaluate similar to what utility rate review, if that's fair, as we go forward, because the data, it's already set up,
Mhm.
and we'll keep an eye on it.
Right.
And no disrespect to Brian, I agree totally. I just think we've been doing well without that increase in a $3 a rate increase per residential to go to 4, which may be the true cost. Let's do a wait and see, kind of like the approach we did with the water.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absorb what we can as we go
I'd
forward.
rather do it incrementally and then maybe
If-
take a look at it again mid-year next year and see how did we end up the year, where are we? How much is that increase done for us, rather than go right from.
From 14 to 18.
Yeah.
What about 14 to 16?
I would agree with that, because with the CPF, it's a big unknown.
It is an unknown. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
if we can
it's a
save on that,
variable
that'll change the numbers dramatically.
Right, but we can always bring it back. too, if we need to.
John and I had that conversation.
I've never heard that ever happen. I know you say that,
people
but-
would.
I mean, this.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I've never heard it happen ever in a city. At least never happened in this city. I don't know of other cities.
But we could be the first.
Well,
We could be the first. I think
that's,
there's 4
John,
people in
because
this room that would
the
do that.
expense has gone up, but if we get a clear method to bring our overall cost down, and the CPF is the biggest draw from us, I mean, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
When we were told that by the county, that as soon as the bond paid off, the rate's going
Yeah,
down.
that didn't happen.
So how much the rate go down?
When I've asked Mr. Huber to look at that too.
Right, because it didn't go down at all, and that scares me because.
Because
we have
now
no
they're
control.
using it for equipment
Right.
instead of for the building,
Yeah,
which
that's-
I don't know that contractually
Right.
was permitted. Maybe we need a good real estate attorney to take a look.
We'll take it. We can build a new building.
You know what?
With some lights.
Get a true cut.
Okay, so, I'd like to propose that we hold off on the increase of the commercial rates and leave it at $5.50 as it currently is right now. And as the mayor suggests, do an incremental rate to $16 a month per residential unit,
When do you want to start that?
starting either September 1st, October 1st,
My incremental was 17,
to 17. Well,
because that's where our true costs are. It doesn't make sense to me to continue to say, okay, we know this is our cost, but we're going to supplement it by $1 a month or $1 a week per resident. We're making a conscious decision to supplement an enterprise fund.
if we don't charge them at least what we think is reasonable.
No, understood, but we've done that for 30 years now. I guess, and the only thing I'm fearful of, if the CPF comes back and it goes down, it's not gonna, what, $20 a ton, then the commercial will take advantage and the residential will take advantage, and the cost will go down, hopefully commensurate with that, and then we might be fine. And I just wanted, I would rather do, and when are we gonna know that again? We think in September, October?
Let me just clarify, you've done it for 20 years because you never knew the cost. Now you know the cost.
Right.
It's like getting the water rates and saying, well, okay, it's $100, but we're only gonna charge you 75. Well, That's not what an enterprise is supposed to be.
But if we know the cost, we know that the commercial is paying too much, so technically we should cut them back. Something, maybe 50 cents lower, $5.
But part of the commercial cost is outside of the city. So we don't mind the people outside of the city, some
Oh, I know.
our residents, that's the whole point of going outside the city and drawing them in.
But the businesses inside the city, they would, I don't think we can differentiate between the two and
No,
say.
because you can't separate the
Right.
commercial in and out, that's the
Right,
problem.
that's right.
Mhm.
To
We'd
answer
have
your
to charge
questions,
them
John,
both.
about, that'll be August, the bid letting, the CPF.
Right.
August is bid letting, opening September, that's the soonest.
Mhm. So that's when we know the answer. I mean, that's pretty good, that's when you wanted to raise them anyways, so you'd be able to know the amount right at that point, unless you want to
Will
know the
we?
amount today.
Will we know what the amount is?
Because,
Or-
well, when the bids come in, they give you the cost to operate it, so that would be
Correct.
the number of the,
Should have a very
Per
good
ton.
idea what's going on at that point.
Per ton? Okay,
you should know that.
all right.
Well, that's when the bids are due, though.
September, yes. It'll be awarded
Then-
probably in September.
Well, if they award it, or if they rebid it and
That-
rebid it.
Oh, they could do
like they
that.
did
Last
last
time it was,
They could go
yeah.
on.
They did
I mean,
that,
it was quite a process.
Yes.
Yeah, last
That's
time I
right.
was right. This was
And
the last time we
considering-
did it 3 times.
Considering the other rate increases that we've had to put in because of circumstances beyond our control, this might be a way to ease things in, maybe do this like $2 now, $2 later.
we have another increase of water in January.
Right, in January, we have another water increase, so maybe in the spring, revisit, see where we are with the numbers, and then if we are still good, we leave the numbers where they are. If they're not, we do increase it up to the full $18.
I think we're at the merit, and that probably should be, but the lead time on that, people have to know if we're gonna increase it 2 and then 2 again, beginning in, maybe March or something, whatever. That they
Right.
plan for that increase, because that's huge
Mhm.
to some people.
I agree, that's why it'll give us an opportunity to give more lead time.
Yeah,
out there, so,
yeah.
um,
Then we know the answer, hopefully. We better,
Exactly.
because this contract is, they can't keep rebidding it, because.
No,
You-
and not to
you-
belabor things, they have a consultant who's supposed to be tightening up the specs and the guidelines and increasing the amount of recycling, so until we see the RFP, we're not sure what's
Yeah, we
going
only
on.
get, what about it? Is this 9%, 8% recycling? What do you
Oh, I don't
know?
think it's that
No.
high.
They claimed 17, we went all through those numbers, I've seen 3, 6,
Yeah, I was gonna
depends
say,
how you.
the numbers I saw
They're
were
skewed
3 to
in my
6.
opinion, that's just my opinion, I'm just not happy about it at all.
Yeah, the numbers I saw were 3 to 6 with that one consultant. Those CT Consultants, is that the company?
That's not
Yes.
good.
This is here?
GT,
GT.
yes,
GT.
Well, we have to people drive around and take most of the valuable stuff out before it gets there.
sometimes, yes. The Markets go down there and take over the
Yeah,
CVS.
they're driving my neighborhood.
That's right, every
Good job.
garbage day, they come and take all the metal out, that's valuable.
They do, we have a lot of scrappers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion.
What's the motion for what?
Proposal.
Well, when do you want to increase it? You gave like September, October, you got,
October 1st. All right, that's the start of the quarter.
so you want to do
You did.
$2 October 1st,
$2 October 1st,
and then you want to revisit that to do what,
and then
the next month?
we'll revisit it.
It has to be the beginning of the 15. If the CPF comes
Yeah.
back and it doesn't change, you're
You
gonna
can look
have
at it
to,
in January,
you're gonna have,
February.
you're gonna have to do it again.
Mhm.
But you gotta do it maybe not so close, because that'll give 3 months between the water increase, the sanitation increase, and maybe 3 months between the water increase again, so maybe it'd be March again for another sanitation increase.
Right, that's why we'll revisit this in January to see where the numbers are, and then at that time, set the date. Probably April 1st is the way I'm looking at it. It'll be a beginning of a quarter,
I got you, right.
okay?
Okay.
All right, so, and leave the commercial.
$2 residential starting October 1st,
Right.
no commercial increase.
Correct.
Until we revisit after the CPF data comes back and we
Well, it seems
Correct.
like there wouldn't be a commercial increase until the residential is caught up. That's my
Well,
understanding.
it all depends on the CPS and where
Well,
costs are.
because there's still, even if the CPF goes down, the commercial's still gonna be paying more than the residential.
Probably, right.
Right, I mean, that doesn't change.
But now, since we have
Amount of money.
we have the spreadsheet set
We
up
have
to
better
do this,
data.
all he has to do is plug in a couple of numbers, and it won't be as intensive now.
And the $2 increase is consistent with past sanitation
It is.
increases. Because,
That's
when was our last one?
5.
And that brings in
Yeah, it
$189,000.
was $2 then, and I think the one
We
before
went
that
from
was
10 to
$2.
12 to 14, and we have not, this is 9 years later,
Mhm.
considering.
Yeah, So,
So there will have to be an additional increase, but it's $189,000 that $2 brings in.
right.
So there has to be an increase next year to cover the cost of the truck.
Exactly, but we'll revisit it to see, depending on what the
And-
Well,
CPI
yeah,
does.
it depends on that, but I
And
mean,
I
There's
think-
too many variables.
Us as a community, with Brunswick and Wadsworth, we really have to hold the commissioner's feet to the fire, because, to be honest, it's been sloppy. The last bid process was sloppy. The recycling rate is, to me, and I know a lot of residents, is a lot lower than what we think. You know, a lot of people come into this community, oh, we send all our, don't worry about recycling, we send it all to the CPF.
Right.
Well, in their minds, they're thinking, great, this county's up and up, but in fact, I think it's smoke and mirrors. But,
No, you're right, a lot of it
move
goes
on.
right to the landfill. We talked about that in utility rate review.
Right.
and the tip fees charged for the landfill, generally, if we did it ourselves, what do the normal landfill charge somebody to dump out?
You know, I don't know that, John, I can get that. That's kind of the numbers we're waiting on the county administrator to give us.
I know at one point we were looking at it, they were like $22 to $25
That's
to,
That's what
a
I
few years ago when we were looking at it, that's what it was then.
I'll make a motion, if that's okay, we'll get this going. I'll make a motion to increase residential rates from 14 to 16, beginning October 1st, 2014, and keep the commercial sanitation rate at $5.50. No change.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So just so I'm clear, then we're gonna go from this committee to finance to council,
Yes.
and then, just not sure.
So that will be, it'll be the 9th before break, that's when it'll, is that the night, remember meeting the 9th of July? So that's when it'll
Yeah.
pass, so it'll be August 9th, it'll be 30 days, and so you got half of August and September.
My question, Rich, is if they pass it August 9th, if they pass it July 9th, it takes effect August 9th, is that time to get in the August bills? Or would we have to wait for the September bills?
It would be in the September bills, yeah.
Is that
Yeah, that'll get the word out.
it'll give us
Well,
one
we'll-
month notice in the utility bill, we can still do the same blast with all the
Press
other things that we
release.
did before.
You've
Yeah,
already
it's
got that
just trying
going.
to time it out, so.
And I think we
did
should,
one.
we have to talk about, at least on council, you're talking about, we're gonna revisit it just like water,
Mhm.
January, and then it'll be revisited depending on what happens with the CPS in March.
And if we have to have an
People
increase,
understand.
it'll take place in
March.
April.
Oh, not
Yeah.
that.
It'll take place April 1st, if we have to take the report.
Right. Just so everybody plans ahead, that they understand it may increase.
Right.
It's July 14th. There's 3 weeks between our June meeting and our July meeting.
Oh, because there's two Monday,
Yeah.
there's a
Monday
Tuesday.
on the 30th.
All right, well, that still gives enough time, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, because it's still within the first 2 weeks. Right. Okay, is there any other business that needs to come before the Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee? Adjourn. Thank you.